Hello and welcome back to another episode of Farewell Evangelion, the podcast where we go through the Neon Genesis Evangelion series bit by bit. My name is Keith, going through for his last time, and I'm joined by Peter, as always.
Howdy, y'all!
Who is going through for his first. So today we did Volume 6 of the Shinji Ikari Raising Project, first released October 25th, 2008. The synopsis is, Shinji is never quite sure whether he's in a relationship or just some sort of bizarre lab experiment. And he probably didn't need yet another cute, mysterious individual to arrive in his hometown, but that's just what he's going to get, and the person is Mana Kirishima. Will she prove to be the girlfriend of Steel, or another Iron Maiden? Really, these synopses kind of feel like the character it's about is writing them.
Yeah, a little bit. This one definitely feels like it was written by Kirishima. So, first things first. Was there a culture festival? No. Get fucked, Peter. Stop guessing that. Was there a fight between Asuka and Kirishima? Yeah, actually. Did it come to Asuka physically punching Kirishima in the mouth?
Almost.
No. Almost, but no. So I give myself partial credit, which I'm allowed to do because I'm both giving the answers and marking the answers. And partial credit's my favorite thing to give when I'm marking my own answers. So I'm giving myself a C- on this one.
I'm just saying be ready, because there is a test at the end.
Okay, good. Do I still get to mark my own test?
No.
Oh, fuck. Then we're in trouble. And by we, I mean me. And by me, I mean you. You're in trouble because I will be physically violent if I don't do well on the test.
Well, we'll see what happens, because that's obviously what this podcast has been building up to the whole time. At
Of
the
course.
End, the final episode, there will be a test.
We've been very clear about the fact that we have been building up to prepare for the inevitable test that is coming. The whole reason we've been doing this, it's nothing to do with us being fans of the series or the series kind of being over and us wanting to find a way to say goodbye to it, thus the name of the series. No, that's not what this is about. This is all about preparing for the test that comes at an indeterminate time, just when we decide we're done.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, we will also be handing out worksheets for everyone at home, so it's not going to be exactly like the test, but you will be tested in a form, so I hope you've been following along very closely with the podcast.
Yeah, I hope you have the syllabus.
Yeah. The syllabus does list everything that will be on the final worksheet, so if you haven't been reading the syllabus, I feel worried about your capacity for success. With all that being said, now that we've done our general housekeeping, should we get into this particular volume?
Yep.
Cool. So, Volume 6. This is another one that's got a couple chapters, like all of them do.
Yep, specifically 33 to 38.
Yep. First chapter of this one, 33, is the one where Kirishima finally shows up in class as the mysterious transfer student. To start off, it's just Kensuke and Toji just, chatting with each other about the fact that rumors are there's a cute new girl coming in as a transfer student, and they're all looking forward to figuring out how that's going to play out. And then it turns out there's a cute new girl joining the classroom. Slight problem. She is obsessed with Shinji, and she seems to have arriven at that conclusion much faster than any of the other people who are currently obsessed with Shinji. Kaoru got there very quickly, but he warmed himself up to it. She just, right out the gate, obsessed with Shinji. There's no warm-up period, there's just obsession.
Yeah, that's 100%. Even when she, in the last volume, when she just picked up the wallet, it's like, Shinji Ikari, I can get me some of that.
Yep. You're just my type, Shinji. And then she shows up this time, and if you remember, Asuka sits in the seat behind Shinji. When Rei joins the class, she sat in the seat on the left of Shinji. Kaoru joined the class and sat on the seat to the right of Shinji. So all the seats around Shinji are kind of taken, except for the seat directly in front of Shinji, which is also taken. There is a student who sits there. They're just sick this one day. So Kirishima just fucking takes that seat and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna sit here. And Misato's like, that's someone else's seat, but I guess you could do that for today.
Yeah, Misato's like, whatever.
Yeah, so all of that happens.
I gotta say, though, my favorite line in this chapter is from Toji saying, damn, Shinji already had his cereal and he still got extra scoops.
Yeah. So there's a couple lines from Toji over the course of this volume that are all chef's kiss, but yes, that one is particularly fucking good. Shinji already had his morning cereal, and he's already getting an extra scoop. And he's still getting an extra scoop.
Yeah.
Fucking perfect, because as always happens with Shinji and cute girls who are transfer students, she pratfalls in such a way that he ends up grasping her chest when she lands. As Shinji isn't even want to do, just as keeps happening to Shinji.
Yeah, it seems to be a proximity thing, because, not to skip ahead, but we also kind of get hinted that the same thing happens with Gendo when he's around Yui.
Yes, we do.
Exclusively when he's around Yui.
Yeah. Those Ikari boys have got some weird sexual magnetism. And I don't mean like the way that you say someone has sexual magnetism when they're very charismatic. I mean they have physical magnetism of a sexual nature. That's just what seems to be happening with them. But yeah, so Kirishima makes it very clear from the get-go that she's obsessed with Shinji. So Hikari tries to invite Kirishima to lunch so she can get to know other students. And she's like, I don't know, are you going, Shinji? And Shinji's like, uh-huh. And she's like, alright, in that case, I'll go. Or Hikari tries to invite Kirishima on a tour of the school so she can learn about the facilities. And she's like, I don't know about that, but if Shinji were to take me on a tour, I'd be fully into that. Like, fully aroused. I mean, participating. And it just kind of continues in such a fashion of other people trying to insert themselves into Kirishima's life. And Kirishima's like, I don't want you to insert yourself into my life. What I want is Shinji to insert himself into my body. And they're like, that's a fucking weird thing to say, but okay, we'll move on from that.
It's like she doesn't know how the system works. You're supposed to get upset about misunderstandings. Like what Ray kind of clearly does this whole volume.
Yeah. Fuck. And, so we get other cool moments, like, while this is happening, Toji and Kensuke pull Shinji aside, and I believe it's Toji says, yo, Shinji, I understand your full-time job is macking, but couldn't you leave at least a few crumbs for the rest of us?
I think you mean the prof.
Yeah, sorry, prof. There's also, the two of them, like, contemplating to each other, like, maybe it was, like, a love-at-first-sight type situation for her, because Shinji doesn't seem to have actually done anything to create this.
Yeah.
And then they both contemplate Shinji's face for a moment, and they're like, nah, that ain't fucking it. Look at Shinji, no one would fall in love with him at first sight.
This just doesn't mathematically add up, but boy, am I bad at math.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what is said. So it's just a good time for everyone involved, except for, Asuka and Ray. They're both very clearly having a bad time with all of this.
Well, Ray just kind of does the takes off thing, and then Asuka is like, I'm going to chaperone you to make sure no bullshit happens. And yeah. I love how even, like, Shinji doesn't remember meeting her.
Yeah, she's like, oh, we're not acting like this right off the gate. We've met before, eh, Shinji? And that's why I'm like this. And Shinji wants to ask her when they've met, but has just no recollection and doesn't want to be rude by asking her. So Asuka, like, calls him out and like, yo, what the fuck? You've been, like, flirting with chicks behind my back? And Shinji's just like, I have no idea who this chick is. And Asuka, like, even realizes, like, Shinji's not the type of dude to flirt with chicks behind my back and then lie about it to my face.
Yeah, he definitely wouldn't lie about kissing the other girl multiple times.
Exactly. That's not something Shinji would do. Shinji's a very honest character. We all know this.
Yeah.
And so she gives him the benefit of a dote he does not deserve. So good for her for doing that. And yeah, it just kind of ends with her being like, it's time for class. We should go back to class. And she's like, alright, cool. You go back to class. I'll go meet up with Kirishima. And Asuka is just like, you little
Now that
punk.
you fully trust me, I'm going to go off secretly with this girl. Don't worry about it.
You little punk, we just fucking talked about this. Why can't you just let her walk herself back to class? You left her right out front of the classroom. But Shinji's not into that idea. He wants to hang out with this girl, who he openly admits in thought bubble form that Asuka's pissed at him and it makes him unhappy, but the way she holds him, he can feel her breasts, and that makes him happy, so he doesn't know how to feel. Other than happy, because he can feel Kirishima's breasts.
as well as the murderous embrace of Asuka.
Yes. So that's kind of what this whole first chapter is about.
Yeah, it's just the Mana introduction.
Yeah, Kirishima getting introduced, being obsessed with Shinji right out the gate, and Shinji being confused by this, and everyone else being upset with this.
The only person
who... Sorry, go ahead.
I would say we also get a little tidbit of her connections, as she mentions that maybe she's overdoing it, as Yui-san said.
Yeah, she has met Yui before, and might be overdoing it. We also get a brief moment at the end of the chapter where she's talking to Yui and Gendo, and she tells them she's fallen for someone at school, and they're like, "Oh, who's that?" And she's like, "It's fucking confidential, you bitches." And then she gives them the fingers and walks away.
Yeah,
that part might have only happened in my mind.
I vaguely remember something like that.
I don't know that it happened on the page, but it definitely happened. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, she also asks about Kaoru and Ritsuko because she sees them having intense conversation.
And so she assumes that they're best friends. Oh, also, during this chapter, she asks Shinji to take her shopping after school because she doesn't know where any of the shops are. And then immediately after class, Kaoru's like, "Yo, Shinji, you gotta talk with Ritsuko because she wants to talk to you." And then Ritsuko full-on tries to seduce Shinji. Like, 100%, she just wants to sleep with Shinji to get answers about what's going on at the lab. And so... Kirishima saves him by opening a locked door, and then walking in and being like, "Yo, Shinji, what's going on? You were in here for an awful long time, and also, Akagi's touching you in weird ways. That seems inappropriate." Except she doesn't say that last part, because she's trying to be subtle.
You see, it does come off that way, but I think Ritsuko is actually just gonna fucking torture him to death.
Oh, quite possibly. In any case,
ask this iteration of Shinji to also help break up his father's marriage.
That's true. She could do that. So next up is chapter 34, which was all about the singing competition, which happens between classes. And if you're...
More importantly, between Kaji and Misato.
Yeah, exactly. If you're at all familiar with the characters from this iteration of Neon Genesis... There's a competition between Misato's class and Kaji's class, which means that Misato is 100% becoming a slave driver to her class to try and ensure that they win this competition for bragging rights and presumably to get Kaji to buy her alcohol. So that's a thing that happens. They end up deciding that for the choral competition, they need a conductor, a pianist, a soloist, and then 10 girls to fill the role of the soprano. And then I don't know what the rest of the boys in the class are doing, but they're hanging out. They seem to be singing, but it's unclear why. I don't know, just like general chorus, probably.
Yeah, this one is, I guess, kind of like showing there's connections to like previous iterations of the character as well. Like, we end up finding out that Shinji can play an instrument, the cello, but he hasn't done it in years. And it's kind of like, almost feels like it's reintroducing Rei into the story, where she kind of has taken a backseat for a bit.
Yeah, it's also, Kaoru is still a pianist, like in previous iterations. We might have actually already seen that in this series, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, this one is very much a Rei-centric episode, or getting her re-involved with Shinji, because she has taken a bit of a backseat recently.
Yeah, and she was kind of almost ignoring him up to this point, too.
Well, she was upset because Kirishima was all over him, and that's clearly Shinji's fault.
Damn it, Shinji.
God damn it. Fucking Baka Shinji, or Baka Shinji, whatever it is. I don't know why I'm trying to pretend like I don't know which one it is. The cat's out of the bag on whether or not I'm a weeb. There's nothing to hide anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue trying to hide it. So Baka Shinji it is. So yeah, they...
I swear to God,
prepare
though,
for this.
If a sushi thing comes up and you start talking about how much you love them donuts, I don't know how I'm going to react.
That's fair. Sushi hasn't come up yet, so you're safe.
Oh boy, hot dogs.
I love me some jelly donuts. So yeah, they go forward with the singing competition. As we said, they need one soloist, but both Kirishima and Asuka raise their hand at the same time to do the role, and Misato, being Misato, has the fucking pure chaos idea of why not have two soloists? That makes perfect sense to me. So she makes them both soloists. And she's just like, fuck it, it'll probably work out, I guess. So they all go ahead with that plan, and it doesn't work out, obviously.
So you know how you fix this problem? What's that? I overheard Ray singing somewhat good? Well, I guess it's time for a third soloist.
Well, here's the thing. It's not even made clear that she heard Ray singing. So the whole thing is, Ray doesn't sing in the first part very loudly because she's self-conscious and doesn't like to sing. And this is how she gets reintroduced, because Shinji, talks to her and he's like, hey, you don't really like singing. Do you want to, practice singing with me after school? And that's where we find out that Shinji, plays the cello a little bit. He makes the comment of how this is the instrument that sounds the most like a human voice, so that's why I'm going to play it for you while you sing. Which, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just a weird sentence to me.
Yeah, is there that guitar thing that makes it sound like a voice?
Yeah. Whatever. So she, Shinji ends up playing the cello and explains to her that the way to sing the best is not to get really good at singing, but just to think about who you're singing for, and think about things that make you feel happy. And if you do that, you'll be really good at singing. So she, of course, thinks about Shinji, obviously. And so they have a good time singing together. And then Misato's like, I'm going to go check on them, because I know they're practicing. And then maybe she does hear them, but from the way it looked to me, it looks like she looked through the window, didn't hear them, but just saw them looking happy, and she was just like, fuck, Ray's in a good mood right now. She has earned herself a solo in this singing competition, when she has made no indication that she wants to sing a solo, but she just looks happy while singing alone with Shinji, so soloist it is, except not a soloist, she's a trioist.
I mean, they're not singing at the same time, though.
Yeah, they're 3 consecutive solos, I guess. Or not necessarily consecutive. They didn't, do the whole singing order for us, so we don't know exactly how it happens. But there are 3 soloists singing.
All we know is that they lost the bet against Kaji's class because Misato ran them so ragged that they all lost their voice.
Yeah, at first when we find out they lose, Ray's immediately like, oh no, it's my fault because I was one of the soloists. And Toji immediately jumps up and he's like, no, it's not your fault. It's 100% Misato's fault, because we all fucking lost our voices due to the practice that Misato put us through. So, Misato's a great teacher is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's what's going on in this, chapter 34. On to chapter 35. This is the one where, they celebrate, not quite a culture festival, but they celebrate an event that is steeped in Japanese culture, so I'm going to bump myself up from a C- earlier, now that I think about it, up to a C+, because it is a festival of sorts, steeped in culture. And I don't remember the word for it. It started with an H, but it's all about getting dolls, and then allowing demons to enter the dolls, and then sending the dolls floating down the river. That's what this festival's all about.
It's only the reasonable thing to do.
Yeah.
There's a key rule here, it's only for girls.
Yeah. So of course, Hikari has Asuka over at her house, and she shows her her doll collection, and she's like, yeah, we just grew up with a bunch of girls in my house, so my dad bought a lot of these dolls. And Asuka's like, we never had any of these dolls growing up. And Hikari's like, you want to participate in this cultural festivity with me, then? And Asuka's like, not particularly, but we could invite Ray, and Asuka gets mad at that thought. She's like, and also Shinji, but Shinji's a boy, so we'll also have to invite some of Shinji's friends so he doesn't feel weird. I don't know, maybe we could invite Toji?
Oh no, she's like Kensuke and, I don't know, what's that guy's name? You know, the loud one, the 40-year-old.
Yeah, the 40-year-old who's in our class. So Hikari's doing a great job of being real subtle about why she's doing this whole thing.
It worked out so well.
It did. Except it didn't, because when Toji shows up, he talks about how he's so hungry that the food could taste like dog poop and he wouldn't comment on it. And so Hikari's only thought is, wow, does my food taste like dog poop?
Yeah.
At the same time, Misato busts in the door.
Now, I will say, this is the chapter that cements. You can definitely dance around it all you want up to this point, but at this point, Misato's clearly an alcoholic.
Misato's also not only an alcoholic, she enables other people's alcoholism just to make it seem like she's not so bad by comparison. Because she full on buys an entire bottle of alcohol for the 3 girls in the class, tells the boys they're not allowed to drink. Only the girls get to have any of this alcohol.
It's like a girls-only festival.
Exactly, so the boys aren't allowed to drink. So, to think about this in one way, this is like if your junior high teacher heard that you, a junior high student, were having friends over for a little bit of a, like, I don't know, let's say Easter. You had your friends over for Easter. You're having a bit of an Easter party. Have some friends over. Your junior high teacher rolls up, puts like a pint of vodka on the table, and she's like, Easter's a girls' festival. Girls drink up this vodka. Boys, you're not allowed to have any. And then once the girls have all had a couple glasses of vodka, she just fucking pieces because Ritsuko called her and asked her to come to school. And she's like, alright, remember boys, you're responsible for these very drunk junior high girls I'm leaving you with.
I do enjoy the aspect of Toji coming to the realization, it's like, shit, we don't get any of the alcohol, and we're gonna get all the fucking blame.
Yeah, 100%. We're 100% responsible for everything that happens now. So they drink lots of alcohol. And by they, I mean the girls, because Ritsuko leaves, or not Ritsuko, Misato leaves to go hang out with Ritsuko. And in the short amount of time that she's gone, the girls are like, we should have one last glass. Did I say one last? I think I said 2 last.
Better have another one just to be sure.
Just to be safe, let's have 3 more glasses. So the girls get fucking wasted. While drunk, Hikari, accuses Toji of not liking her food. Well, she's like, man, Toji, you're such a jerk. You've never said my food was good. And he's like, to be fair, I've never said it was dog shit either. And she's like, wait, are you saying my food is dog shit? And, yeah, so that's what's going on with... well, she not only says, are you saying my food's dog shit? She's like, are you saying my food's dog shit? I get up super early every morning to make an extra bento box just for you. And you're calling my fucking food dog shit now? So that's what's going on with Toji and Hikari. Toji's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but that's nothing new.
That's not new. Meanwhile, Rei gets drunk and passes out on Shinji's crotch, which Asuka gets mad at him for. And so she gets drunk and starts accosting Shinji. And then shortly after, she passes out mid-accosting while asking for an explanation of what happened. Not an explanation, for proof. For proof of what happened.
Prove to me.
Prove to me that you're not an asshole. So he does. And by that I mean she passes out, and then Misato shows up, and she's like, oh fuck, I caused a problem, didn't I? Well, I'm gonna take away this one drunk teenager and bring her to Shinji's mom. The rest of you clean up this house, and Shinji, take Asuka home. And so Shinji carries Asuka home, and that's how he proves that he is an asshole. Because while carrying her, she wakes up, and he's like, hey, you put on a lot of poundage, haven't you, little hefty chunker?
Yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah, and so, friendship fixed by Shinji telling Asuka she put on some weight.
I want to point out that she also does beat him over the head as he carries her the rest of the way home for insulting her in that such a way, and she was apparently still drunk enough that she can't remember any of it afterwards.
Yeah, she beats him up, and then the next day it's like, whoa, did you, like, walk into a tree or some shit? And Shinji has the decency not to say, if by a tree you mean your chonker fists.
I don't know if that's a decency thing. I think he wants to get hit again.
Yeah, it's probably just that he doesn't want to get hit again. So yeah, 35, the one where Misato gets a bunch of junior high girls drunk.
Again, she very clearly has an alcohol problem in this timeline.
Yeah, very clearly. To be fair, she has an alcohol problem in all the timelines. It's just this is the one where it's the worst.
That's true.
Alright, so next up is chapter 36. We're kind of speedrunning these a little bit. But chapter 36 is the one with all the cleaning. And by cleaning, I mostly mean baseball.
Also the one where we also once again see Toji is an idiot.
Yeah. So, Toji...
It's got bonus in the word. Of course it's the easiest one.
Yeah, so they're split into groups to do the cleaning. Toji wins the rock, paper, scissors tournament, so he gets to choose first which task his group is assigned to. And the options are homeroom, bathrooms, and I forget what the third one... Music room. It's homeroom, bathrooms, music room, or super special extra bonus stage. And, of course, Toji winning decides the super extra special bonus stage, because, I mean, why wouldn't you want to do the super extra special bonus stage?
It's got some real mystery box energy to it.
Yeah. For all you know, it could be the homeroom. And don't you want to just clean the homeroom? It's got a little bit of that vibe. So Misato takes them to a separate room, which is just appears to be the storage room for the entire school.
Yeah.
And she tells them that they need to sort everything in that room by class, take everything that they've now sorted, and lay out the different various classes with all their necessary equipment, and then also clean up the garage, I believe was a part of it.
No, it was effectively they had to separate everything, take it to the classrooms, but also make sure those classrooms are clean.
Right, so instead of cleaning a single classroom, they're cleaning every classroom that... 9. It was 9. They're cleaning 9 classrooms.
Also, I believe Misato also had just personal stuff in that room that they would have to sort out.
Yeah,
for her.
100%. I wouldn't be surprised if Misato just threw her dirty laundry in there before giving it to them. And just like, anything that's in here that's dirty, make it clean, alright? Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
So, obviously, Asuka does her own thing cleaning. Kensuke and Toji, kind of do their own thing, in that their own thing isn't cleaning. Rei tries to lift a box, which is heavy, so Shinji offers to help, obviously. Which upsets Asuka. At the same time, Hikari is trying to keep everyone on task, but she sees a mysterious trapdoor. I wonder where that leads.
I actually wonder as well. We never find out.
Yep. Because as soon as she sees the trapdoor, who should show up but Kaoru? And Kaoru's like, yo, Hikari, Teach wants to see you. Go back to the main classroom. So Hikari leaves. And then he immediately turns to Shinji, and she's like, oh, yo, Shinji, can I feel your body? No, I think this is the one time he's not explicitly sexual towards Shinji. He just asks if he can help Shinji clean, and they can just, like, hang out together as buds. Buds
let's have some real masculine time.
Yeah, let's have some real masculine, one-on-one, manly man time. You know, like, so manly that it's not just a man, it's like there's a man inside the man. Let's do one of those. And Asuka's immediately like, yo, in times like these, it's important that we celebrate our differences. One such different is that you're on a different fucking team. Go join them. So he leaves. He leaves her all alone. And by her, I mean Shinji. Shinji is the her.
Even Rei gives like the cold shoulder to Kaoru. He's like, oh, no one wants me here. Okay, guys, I understand.
Well, to be fair, Rei and Asuka are this is the one thing that they both very clearly agree on, which is Kaoru wants to take Shinji on the not-so-straight path, and so they're determined to keep Kaoru out of Shinji's life as much as possible.
Yeah.
Whether or not they fight on everything else, sure, but the one thing they both very clearly agree on is that Kaoru should not be allowed near Shinji. Which is fair, and deserved. So Kaoru fucks off. And then Hikari comes back, because it turns out Misato didn't actually want to talk to her at all. She's very confused, but doesn't worry about it too much. Walks back into the classroom to see that Kensuke and Toji are just full-on playing baseball with a broom.
I mean, there's better ways to do that.
There's also worse ways, so they're fine. Kensuke notices what happens and stops, but like somehow, even though he stops, Toji doesn't realize what's going on and still swings his broom like he's trying to hit a ball, and the way he swings it, he ends up lifting up Hikari's skirt, and so he gets labeled a pervert, much like everyone else in this series. This is the one time I think it's deserved, because it is a 40-year-old man lifting up a young girl's skirt, and also every time he has a chance, he talks about how he's obsessed with Misato, so like, I think if anyone in this series deserves the pervert title, it's Toji.
I mean, how did he even get in this school, the more I think about it?
The fact that they keep catching Gendo every time he walks in the class, but Toji is just allowed to walk right in, is very questionable to me. In any sense, Toji gets accosted. After that happens, Ikari starts, like, looking around for that trapdoor she saw earlier. and doesn't see it. So she's very confused. Meanwhile, Misato...
Actually, I want to take a brief aside because I just realized we skipped over it with the talk about Gendo. But in that first chapter when Ritsuko calls Shinji into the room, she's like, I want to talk about your father. And Shinji reacts like, oh god, did he come here again?
Right, yeah. It was pretty great. After Hikari notices that the trapdoor is gone, Misato shows up and is like, yo, Rei, Yui wants to see you, so I'm taking you to the lab. Get in my car. Do it now. And Rei's like, but we're not done cleaning. And Misato's like, every other group is, so what's taking you guys so fucking long? And then Asuka's like, you know what? You're right. Hikari, Kensuke, Toji, you guys should leave. Me, Shinji, and Rei can finish it up. Not even acknowledging the fact that, like, I understand why, but suggesting that the 3 people who can finish it up are 2 people and 1 who has already been claimed to be leaving, so it's just weird that she includes Rei in her we can finish it up. But regardless, Kensuke's like, yeah, sure, what are we gonna do, Toji? And then Asuka looks Kensuke dead in the fucking eye, and she's like, no, you're going somewhere alone, right? Remember when you told me you were going to be alone for the rest of your life? Go start doing that now.
Kensuke, I would be surprised if we find out he's been dead since this chapter.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, right, yeah, I had to go buy a video game, so I'm gonna go off alone. And so, Toji and Hikari head off to walk home together. And then Shinji turns to Asuka and he's like, yo, why did you do that? There's still a lot of cleaning left to be done. And Asuka points towards
Kensuke
Toji.
will never recover from this. That man is broken now from what you've done.
Yeah. And then Asuka just points towards Toji and Hikari, and she's like, that right there is why I did this. And Shinji, being Shinji, is like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Why did you do this to us?
Which, I don't know why there's still, like, the confusion about, like, Toji and Ikari at this point. It's been, like, very clear from Volume 1 what's going on with them.
Not only that, during the class trip in, like, Volume 2 or 3, Shinji full-on saw the 2 of them on a date. Like, it should not be surprising to him that they have something going on. So Shinji's just a fucking idiot, is what's going on.
Seems to be the case. Although I want to say that this wasn't just Asuka being nice. Hikari also incepted a concept into Asuka, which he kind of acted on.
Yeah. It was Asuka being nice and Hikari being surprisingly manipulative.
Yeah.
Not in like a bad way, it's just not used to seeing Hikari manipulate world events so that she can get exactly what she wants.
Well, I don't even think it was that, because like she leans in and whispers because Rei and Shinji are like talking and stuff. She's like, if you do keep this up, she's going to steal him from you.
Yeah, like, she keeps worming her way into Shinji's life. You gotta get better at that.
And I honestly think the reason she mentioned Rei in the list of like people that could stay behind and clean is because she didn't want to say just her and Shinji because it gave away the game.
That's true. So she says her, Shinji, and Rei, so it seems like the 3 of them won't be together, only when she's well aware of the fact that Rei is leaving. Exactly. So she is creating a situation where her and Shinji will be alone together without making it clear that that's what she's doing. So, you know what? Props to Rei. Props to Asuka for manipulating world events like that.
Through
Hikari. And then vice versa. Hikari manipulating world events through Asuka. In any sense, that all happens. And that is chapter 36. So chapter 37. The one where we start to see some stuff that we might remember from the original Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's crazy.
A little bit. It's not like they're in the same world or anything.
That'd be fucking weird.
Yeah.
So anyways, they're going on a class field trip. And by class field trip, I mean not a class field trip. I mean Shinji, Rei, and Asuka are going to Tokyo too for some reason related to the lab work. And also Kirishima's just been like invited along because she knows Yui and also her parents work in the lab as well. So she's getting brought along on this field trip to Tokyo 2 to see the Japan Heavy Chemicals Industry Complex and their recent scientific discoveries. And if any of those words sound familiar to you, just remember, you're not Jet alone.
But but is the not like maybe in some brackets or some sort?
Yeah. I tried to be clever there. And I was, so congratulations, Peter, you're very clever. Even when you try to be clever. Especially when you try to be clever, Peter. You gonna stop talking to yourself anytime soon, Peter? So, that all happens. They go to the Japan Heavy Chemicals.
We get the old character who was the original leader of that group as well, from the original run in this one. But I like the added thing of him and Yui were rivals in university.
Yeah, he came second in every single class he participated in to Yui. Yui was top of her class, he was second in Yui's class.
Or the fact they're just, like, bitching at each other about, like, she's like, man, could you believe we worked in some vague science facilities doing some vague science?
Yeah.
The world's greatest invention.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, Yui's kind of scary.
Yui's fucking terrifying. She's very clearly threatening him all the time, but, like, subtly, so it can't get back to her.
Well, also, like, I believe if she had the moment, she would have, like, pushed him off that balcony if the children run around. Or Misato. Yeah. And Misato's like, she's gonna kill this man, I need to stay around.
Yeah, she very clearly is going for that, and she's like, alright, Misato, take the children away from here so I can have some alone time when he might have a mysterious accident.
If anyone asked, I was with you the whole time.
And Misato's like, I'm not gonna do that. And Yui's just like, but it's gonna get very technically dense. You're not going to be able to follow what's happening. And Misato's like, I'll try my hardest to follow. And he was like, alright, fuck it, kids, leave. Go away. Don't be here anymore. So they do.
At the very least, I might be able to convince Misato to jump in on this murder.
Yeah, I might be able to wrap up Misato in this murder trial. Worst case scenario, I have someone to frame for the murder if need be.
She's probably drunk right now. It'll probably work out.
Yeah. So, the kids all go to the cafeteria at the Jet Alone facility.
Which has my favorite conversation of Shinji like, what if we had some mysterious entities that were attacking us? Jet Alone would be pretty great in that time. And Asuka's like, that sounds like a cheap, pseudo-profound TV show. Low budget and ambiguous ending.
Yeah. That fucking line from Asuka was perfect. So good. And she's right. It does sound like some cheap, pseudo, profound anime with the, like, cheap, ambiguous ending.
Yeah, endings.
So yeah, she calls out Shinji for being stupid, which he deserves.
Cower in the corner crying. But it's my favorite show.
Oh, God. So, they end up discussing that further. Shinji, like, walks away for a couple seconds, and while he's walked away, Asuka, like, full-on calls out Kirishima for her bullshit. And this is the first time Kirishima takes down the veil, and she's like, yeah, I am a monster, but what are you gonna do about it? Shinji likes me more than you. And Asuka's like, no, he doesn't. And Kirishima's like, oh yeah, you want to prove it? We're gonna do a competition. You want to know what our competition is? We're both gonna find some food for Shinji right fucking now, and we're gonna put it down in front of him at the exact same time, and whoever's food he eats first is the one he loves forever. So the other one just has to back the fuck off and leave us alone while we're happy forever and ever and ever. And Asuka's like, that sounds fucking dumb as shit, but I'm used to hearing dumb as shit ideas because I hang out with Baka Shinji all the time.
Yeah.
So fuck it, let's do that. Let's do your dumb as shit plan, because it's no worse than anything Baka Shinji could come up with. And so they both leave to get food. Meanwhile, Shinji comes back, and he has both tea and milk for Rei, because she wanted some tea with milk, I guess. And Asuka, like, the panel was a little bit weird, and maybe she just bumped into him, but from my perspective, it kind of looked like she just straight up punched Shinji in the back for trying to be nice to Rei.
And so it was reflex, too. She didn't even know what was going on. She just fucking, her fist is like, oh, something's going over here I don't want to happen.
Yeah. So Shinji ends up throwing the milk all over Rei's face. Luckily, it doesn't get on her clothes, but her face is just covered in milk, which, not to be weird or anything, but I don't know if you've ever had, like, a jug of milk poured on your face, but it kind of ends up falling onto your clothes anyways, so, like...
No, it wasn't milk.
It wasn't milk?
No, it was cream.
Oh, it was cream. Okay, then yeah, she's fine. And she goes to the bathroom to clean herself. And while she goes, Shinji follows, and the other two are like, maybe this isn't the best time for a competition. We'll get back to this in a later volume. And Kirishima's like, what the fuck's a volume? And Asuka's like, wink? And so they move on.
She says it out loud?
Yeah, she doesn't wink. She says the word wink. So as Rei's leaving the bathroom, Asuka and Kirishima walk up and they all start yelling at each other. And then an alarm goes off, and it's all Baka Shinji's fault, according to Asuka.
I like how it was like kicking the door is not going to solve the problem. We need to think calmly. Kicking things make me think calmly.
Yeah, the only way I can think calmly is by kicking things, so I'm going to keep kicking things. So she kicks things, and Shinji is confused by this behavior, but allows it to happen anyways. And then that's where this volume ends. Or not this volume, this chapter ends.
Yeah, because the last one is the second half of resolving this issue where Yui ends up getting secret information about the Jetalone facility, and then realizes, child-sized vents lead directly from this room to the other room where the shutoff valve is.
I'm gonna amend what you said there, because as we find out during this chapter, they're not only child-sized, like, they're specifically child-sized because Misato and Yui can't fit through them, but they're also somehow Gendo-sized.
Well, no.
These are Gendo-sized vents.
You're saying that they're Gendo-sized vents, when Gendo specifically states that he has skills. Because even Shinji was surprised he got through. I believe they are children-sized vents, and Gendo just knows how to get around it.
I'm very upset by the idea that Gendo knows how to fit through child-sized vents. That seems wrong and inappropriate to me, but we're gonna accept it and move on. I guess Gendo does just have skills.
Yeah.
So anyways, Yui sends them a map of the facility, tells them they have to get to the control room and shut everything down. Also, at the same time, fun fact, Jetalone's powered by a nuclear reactor.
As he is in the series.
As he is in the series, but that's just an important detail to be aware of, in case you just started listening to our podcast now and weren't aware of that from the first time we talked about Jetalone. Because I don't think Jetalone showed up, really, in Rebuild at all.
No, that part's pretty much all cut out.
Yeah, so the last time we talked about Jetalone during this podcast would have been
like around episode 13 of the original run.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a hot second, so just to remember, Jetalone, giant robot, kind of like an Evangelion, but very clearly not an Evangelion, just a giant robot, and powered by a nuclear reactor.
Oh, actually, a small amendment to that Jetalone thing. Jetalone kind of shows up as more of an Easter egg in the Rebuild series because they take the Jetalone parts and use it to rebuild Eva 2.
Right. So yeah, Jetalone does kind of appear in Rebuild.
Yeah.
And we might have mentioned that it is Jetalone, but
I definitely mentioned it.
Of course you did. You probably mentioned it during the fun facts and Easter eggs section.
Exactly.
Anyways, all of this happens. It's good times for everyone. So Yui sends them a map of the facility and like, this is the path you have to follow. And Shinji's like, alright, left, right, left. Hope I can remember that. And Rei's immediately like, don't worry, I've got it memorized. We're good. And Shinji's like, that's pretty fucking cool if you ask me. So
I'm sure he found some way of saying it reminds you of his mother. Because that's what he keeps saying. Every time he's having like a moment with Rei, it's like, like my mother does.
Yeah. So they end up needing to get to the vent on the ceiling. So they decide to move a table over so they can reach it, but it's still not quite enough. So Asuka stands on Shinji's shoulders to open up the vent, which is necessary sometimes, so she does. She manages to open up the vent, and then just after she climbs through the vent, Shinji's like, alright, Rei, time for you to climb up on Daddy's shoulders. Important to mention that immediately before he says this, while holding Asuka on his shoulders, he does fully look up Asuka's skirt, so questionable what his motive is for getting Rei on his shoulders.
But Mod and Rei, that.
Yeah, but Kirishima's like, let's not do that. What if we stack chairs so that no one has to climb on Shinji's shoulders ever again? So Shinji doesn't get the upskirt he was looking for. Instead, they all just climb up chairs. And so the order in the vent when they first get in is Asuka at the front, then Shinji, then Rei, then Kirishima at the back. And then Asuka, realizing Shinji's behind her, decides Shinji should be in the front because she doesn't know what Shinji's doing behind her or what he's thinking about doing. So for all she knows, Shinji's about to grope her out of nowhere, which is smart. That seems like something Shinji would do.
It does tend to be the trend for reasons, obviously.
To be clear, Shinji wouldn't choose to grope her. It's just like a gust of air would pass through the vent, and he would fall in such a way that he ends up groping.
Exactly.
So it ends up being Shinji, then Asuka, then Rei, then Kirishima. And then at some point, Shinji bumps his head on a lever, and because he's bumping his head on a lever, Rei passes Asuka, and then a gate passes between them, and now it's Shinji and Rei on one side of the gate, continuing forwards, and Asuka and Kirishima with a wall in there.
Which, the odd thing about this is, why didn't you just flip the lever back?
Yep. Also, I don't fully understand why Rei passed Asuka, but whatever. It happened, we all just need to accept it and move on. So yeah, Rei and Shinji continue forwards to get to the control room. Meanwhile, Kirishima and Asuka are kind of chatting to each other, and they're like, alright, we need to make a truce, and we need to get forward to the control room. And Asuka's like, what are you talking about? I'm sure Shinji's capable of doing this once he gets there. And Kirishima's like, Shinji's not the one I'm worried about. Rei is!
The dangerous son of us all.
She seems like quiet and meek at times, but trust me, when she's alone at Shinji, she can be very aggressive with her machinations. Also, don't you know about the suspension bridge theory about how if you ever want to confess your love to someone, do it while on a suspension bridge, because the scary situation can get your adrenaline pumping, and then you'll be confused about whether it's love you're feeling or just adrenaline from fear. So, like, this is the perfect time for her to confess to Shinji. So, alright, Asuka, time for you to start kicking a door. And then Asuka hears all that, and she's like, you know what I'm going to do then? I'm going to kick that door. I'm going to kick that door real hard. So she does. And that's what ends up solving the problems.
Yeah, definitely this kicking the door solved the problem.
From Asuka's perspective, absolutely. Anyways, Shinji gets there. He ends up being told that the password is hope. So he types in the password hope. And then it doesn't work. And in fact, more alarms start going off. And you know that nuclear reactor we thought was important to mention about Jet Alone? It starts going into meltdown.
Oh, well, this is important.
This is problematic to say the least. So...
Not really, because there's no tension to this scene whatsoever.
Yeah. So Shinji is told to try the password again, because that's definitely the password. The weird thing is, like, the actual president of the Japan Heavy Chemicals Industrial Complex doesn't, like, pipe in and be like, oh, that's not the password, or make sure you're doing it this way, like capital H or some shit. He just, like, walks away from the situation. And then, like, Yui fully on her own is like, trust me, that's absolutely, definitely 100% the password. I don't know, like, how, so, like, try it, maybe not in kanji, try it maybe with letters, or something else. And so, it's a little bit weird, but obviously she's done some digging.
But it gets better!
So, password's not working, everyone's in danger, and then Gendo shows off his skills by climbing through a child-side vent.
Well, the best part about this is, like, looks like it's my time, and she's like, dear God, no, that voice, it can't be! So, Gendo jumps through the vent, and then demonstrates that while he's not good with computers, he does understand that when man-made machines start acting up, there's only one reasonable response for a man to have. And he just smacks the shit out of the computer, and immediately the lockdown is lifted, and the Jet Alone stops going into nuclear meltdown, so... I mean, Gendo was right. I like the build-up of this, too, because it's like, you couldn't even program the microwave. And he's like, yes, but I fixed the TV multiple times.
Yeah. And, like, Yui is straight up yelling to Shinji through the radio of, stop him, he's just going to make things worse. For the love of God, stop him. And then he solves everything. All the problems are fixed.
Yeah.
Cut to a conversation between Ritsuko and Sile, and Ritsuko reveals to herself, or kind of out loud, that she has come to the conclusion that Yui is not actually what's keeping the lab working. It is 100% Gendo. Gendo is the only reason the lab still works. She has no idea, like, why, but she is 100% certain that Gendo is the sole reason everything in the lab works.
Exactly. Gendo seems to be the MacGuffin of the series.
Yeah. To be fair, Gendo keeps doing things that shouldn't work. Like when the door locked Rei inside of the changing room, And then Gendo was like, alright, we just need like 5 men and a rope. And Yui's like, no, that's definitely impossible. And then it just worked. So, I mean, Gendo definitely has MacGuffin powers.
Gendo Ikari, it just works.
Yeah, it just works. So yeah. That's this volume.
Yeah, it was
good times were had by all.
Goes more into the silly side of things for these ones. Obviously tries to build some tension for the Jet Alone thing, but
yeah,
that level of tension does not exist in this storyline, so it just like, nothing's gonna happen.
It tries to build the tension, but the tension doesn't really exist.
Yeah. And then, as I mentioned before, a new main character, in a sense, gets introduced, Mana.
Mana Kirishima.
She is originally from the Girlfriend of Steel series. She was in the first one as one of the characters. She wasn't in the second one, which Angelic Days ended up being based off specifically. But then she also appears in the Raising Project series.
Fair. That explains why I've never seen her before.
Yeah, we kind of danced around her a little bit, but her first appearance is in the Girlfriend of Steel games.
Cool. I know what we're talking about after this series.
And as you've probably already assumed, her last name is World War II ship.
Yep. I don't know which one, but I was fully under that assumption.
The Hiroshima.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now that I think about it. Alright. What'd you think? Do you like this volume?
Yeah,
this is a good volume?
Yeah, so, like, this one is probably one of the more higher level of, like, just joke per capita, essentially. And Toji is just on fire this issue.
Yeah, everything Toji says is pretty much fucking gold. Yeah, no, this was definitely a super enjoyable volume.
And there's the implication that there's something else going on with the Jet Alone stuff, too.
Yeah, there's some shit going on. Also, Kirishima seems to fill a similar role to Kaoru in that she's secretly been inserted into the group to manipulate Shinji, I guess. Except this time it's on behalf of Yui and Gendo, rather than on behalf of Seele.
Yeah.
So, Seele's got the gay agenda where they're trying to convert Shinji, whereas Yui and Gendo very clearly have a straight agenda where they're just trying to keep Shinji as straight as possible by surrounding him with more cute junior high girls. Although, actually, I don't know about that now that I think about it, because she seems reluctant to admit that she's been flirting with Shinji. So she might be there for a completely unrelated reason, and she is just inserting herself into Shinji by trying to get Shinji to insert himself into her.
Yeah, at a first glance, it might appear that she's more of, like, supposed to watch over Shinji as, you know, she stopped the Ritsuko attack and all that.
Yeah.
But a new character coming in and not showing interest in Shinji is suspicious, so she's like, I gotta do this for the job.
Yeah, if there's a transfer
student, job.
I'm going to be honest. If they introduce at this point a transfer student and the transfer student isn't obsessed with Shinji, then that person's a serial killer. That's like the only reasonable assumption.
That's fair. Okay, so with that, I think we can wrap up this episode for Volume 6.
Yeah, I think so.
As always, if you'd like to reach out to us, you can send us an email at whatismypodcastabout@gmail.com. We also upload this podcast every Wednesday on all podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube. So please like, favorite, subscribe, share it with a friend, write a comment, write a review. All that and word of mouth definitely helps spread it out to more people as well.
Yeah, 100%. Please share.
We also have the Instagram page where we have daily uploads about different things about the series and go through it in kind of order, where we just explain a few things in a bit more detail or just fun facts about the series as well as polls here and there. And as always, Peter, what can we expect next time on the Shinji Ikari Raising Project, Volume 7?
Alright, now that we found out that Jet Alone as their rivals is creating giant robots, I think it's only natural that we're finally going to get some fucking Evangelions in this Evangelion storyline. So, Evas are coming in Volume 7. How they're going to fit into the Culture Festival that's also coming in Volume 7, I don't fully know, but we will have Evas and a Culture Festival, and Asuka's probably going to punch... I mean, she's definitely going to punch Shinji, but probably also Kirishima.
And, of course, plenty of fan service.
Of course.